This is John McClung Jr. I'd like to invite you to join me every Monday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for Breaking Biblical Bread, where we take a word or passage of Scripture and encourage you, impact your life, and add value to your day. You don't want to miss it.
Welcome to Breaking Biblical Bread. This is your host, John McClung Jr., also known as the chaplain, and I want to say welcome and let me know as you come in where you're coming in from. Man, if you're here in the area that I'm in, it's cold, so we're going to come. Well, it might be cold everywhere, so we want you to come in and get warm. We do this every Monday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for my people on the West Coast. So we're also sponsored by I Am a Testimony Apparel, as well as Kingdom Connection Media Group. Listen, today, as you have been following me, if you have or got a chance to hear some of the message this year, as I call this season, it's been progressive. You know, the first message was walking in your breakthrough season. And today I want to talk about a subject matter that has been shared in the last couple of days with some individuals that I've talked to. And I wasn't even going to do this message. I was going to do something totally different until really yesterday that I had a conversation, and it made me really go back through and look at this one particular one. And so, you know, Breaking Biblical Bread is about sharing a simplistic message that applies to your life today, in the next second, the next minute, hour, day, week, month, and the year. And we already gone through the first month. So I want to encourage you today in a way that I think will be impactful, because I know this message was not only for me and those who I had an opportunity to share with, but it's going to be for somebody who might be struggling with this. And so make sure, as I always say, take some notes, tag and share that Breaking Biblical Bread is on. And so over the next few minutes, we're going to share some information with you that prayerfully will make an impact on the rest of your year. And I know you are going to face this for sure. If you are already facing this for sure, or you might just be ending some of this for sure, because it's gonna be throughout this season, because we are truly in a different season that will bring some things out in us that we may not necessarily want to face. So let's dive in. As you can see behind me, I got some fall leaves, and my subject matter today is the leaves are falling off. Let me share this again. The leaves are falling off. Every season, there's going to be some changes in your life, and you have to be prepared for it, regardless of its sacrifices or its pains, struggles, or losses. You know, I was thinking at my home, there's a really beautiful tree in the front yard, and it grows upwards, and it's in its season, it's full. I mean, full of leaves, to the point that sometimes when I look at it, when I walk out the door, I'm like, I know the season is coming. And that season is one in our lives that's coming. And if you know anything about the trees, you know that there's a season that comes where the leaves fall off. And usually, if not all the time, I know some of us, we may have someone else do it. If you got kids, they might do it. Or you might have a lawn care service that comes in and does it. But you got to remove the leaves off the lawn, the yard, whatever. And it's a task that is challenging sometimes, because it can wear you out, especially depending on the size of your leaves and the size of your tree. And so my tree is huge. So it's work. It's 10, 15, 20 bags of leaves that you got to get rid of. And so today, as I talk about this particular subject, I just want you to have open ears, heart, and mind, and see how this will apply to your life. Or it may have you all might be already going through this, or you are in it, and or you might be trying to figure it out. And again, I want to say hello to everybody that's coming in. All right, so I got 3 scriptures that I want to use as my foundation for this subject. And again, the subject is the leaves are falling off. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. John 15:2 says, every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. And then Isaiah 43:18-19 says, remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? So today, again, we're going to dive in. I got seven points I want to make today in using this analogy about the leaves. Every season, trees lose their leaves because they are dying. But because they are preparing for the next season as well. And in our life, there should be some things dying off that should be preparing us for the next season. The loss is necessary for the tree's survival, and loss is necessary for us for our growth. The tree loses leaves for the current time that is in the season, and is preparing for the next season, which shows new growth. The question is, are you showing new growth in your life every season? And if you're not, it might be some leaves that need to fall off. See, God allows us to lose some things sometimes, people, opportunities, certain comforts that we have in our life. But those losses that he allows us to have prepares us for the next chapter in our journey. And yet we find ourselves trying to hang on to certain leaves, maybe because of the color or the size, or it just feels good, looks good. And those leaves need to fall out. Now you can, in this analogy, I will share some of the things that look like leaves in our life. And you already probably know some things that are considered leaves in your life that need to fall off. All right, so first point, number 1, loss prepares you for growth. Let me say that again. Loss prepares you for growth. As you look at John 15:2, when it talks about every branch in me that beareth not fruit needs to be taken away or removed. God removes what no longer serves his purpose in our lives to make room for new growth. Now it's God that does it. And when that happens, it is important to understand that new growth is necessary. Now, just as a tree is pruned, to bear more fruit, God removes relationships in our life, habits, or situations that hinder you from spiritual growth. And so when we think about this, instead of mourning what's gone, we need to ask God to reveal what needs to be removed, because he's preparing us for something greater. And a lot of times, again, we want to hang on to some of the losses that we have in our life because it is comfort. Sometimes we're comfortable. So, when I look out at that tree, I'm comfortable because it provides shade. But every situation doesn't have great provision for your life, and it needs to be removed. All right. So number 1, loss prepares you for growth. Number 2, trust God's timing and purpose. Ecclesiastes, he talked about to everything there's a season, and to every purpose is under the heaven, right? Every time to every purpose under the heaven. So God's timing and purpose is always correct. It's always right. And it's always right on time when you are following the will and purpose God has for your life. See, because there is a season under the heavens, everything for everything, the falling leaves reminds us timing is perfect. When certain things happen in our life that is removed, the timing is perfect. When people are removed from our life, they are removed right on time. When a certain situation happens to us that we know we have no business being in and is removed, it's removed right on time. Some losses are more than others because sometimes we think it's because of a failure. But because of the purpose that God has in our life, this is actually something that's being fulfilled for you, especially on your journey. So we're not losing because we're failing. We're losing because we're faithing forward. There are some things in our life that the Lord knows needs to be removed, and he knows when and where and what time to do it. And usually when we find it out, we're probably are excited that the mere fact that this is no longer a part of our life. You know, when you think about like I've been reading through the Old Testament, right? And when you think about the Moses and the Israelites, they got removed out of Egypt right on time. Matter of fact, the Red Sea was split and they got across the path right on time. In that season, when they were fearful of whether or not they could cross the sea, the Lord opened that sea up, got all the people across, and they saw the enemy coming. And yet he closed up the waters right on time. So there's some waters probably in your life that need to be closed up as you're walking across that sea into your season. And we can't be fearful. We can't be looking back, talking about Lord. I want to go back to what it used to be. No, every season the leaves fall off, or they should fall off. And if you got some things in your life that haven't fall off, there's some growth that needs to be done and made in your life. The leaves are falling off. Number 2, trust God's timing and purpose. Number 3, letting go. Ooh, this is a good one. Letting go brings freedom. Letting go brings freedom. It's something in your life holding you down, or you've allowed it to hold you down for a period of time, and it's holding you captive in your life. You have trigger moments where it comes back on you and it brings it back to life and causes you to fall back because the season of that particular thing hasn't fell off. Letting it go brings freedom. You know, Isaiah talks about forget the former things because God is doing something new in your life. I'm pretty sure if the leaves stayed on the tree, period, when it goes through a particular season where it knows the leaves should be off, it's discolored. It's the color changes. The color changes anyway, and it also weakens the leaves to fall off. And there's some weak situations probably in your life that just needs to fall off, but you might want to hang on to it for some reason. And it's causing your tree to look bad. You know, when you look at when I look at the tree and it's only 2 leaves out there on the tree because all the other ones that fell off, it looks bad. Why hasn't those 2 fallen off? And sometimes do you have that moment in your life where you go like, why hasn't this fallen off my life? Leaves fall off to make room for new growth. Things in your life fall off to make new growth, especially when you go from fall and winter and you start, those cold seasons, those seasons where it's a little dead, but you're preparing for the spring where life comes back in. See, when you hold on to dead leaves, it hinders your life from growth. When you hold on to some dead things in your life, it hinders you from growing in that particular area of your life where it needs to be strengthened. You have to take a look at the tree. You have to take a look at what's going on in your life to see where leaves should be falling and why leaves are hanging on and hindering you. You're going to have to prune some things in your life so them leaves can be removed so you can grow in that area. Because you need that freedom. You need the freedom to grow spiritually, naturally, in areas of your life that you know you're struggling in. So letting go of the leaves in your life that need to be let go of brings freedom. And we all know that when you have a particular freedom, you get a chance to enjoy some of the things that are coming. You know, whether it's a new job, a relationship, or a dream or vision, freedom allows you to embrace the new opportunities that the Lord is bringing in your life. Because you might not be able to see the thing that he's bringing, the new season, because you still have old things that you're hanging on to. So number 3, letting go brings freedom. Number 4, loss is often a test of faith. Let me say that again. Loss is often a test of faith. Job 121 talks of who was an individual that really went through this particular season and losing leaves and a lot of things that, of course, he lost. And he talked about that Lord gave and the Lord had taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And his faith was truly tested, not only for himself, but by others who were watching. And there are people watching to see if you're going to allow the leaves to fall off in your life that they might even see is detrimental to you. And it's sometimes it don't matter who may talk about those things, but it's very important to be able to go through your season when your faith is being tested. And loss often does that. Job lost everything, but he remained faithful to God. And I know that could be, for some of us, we may question that. But in the end, his leaves were restored beyond measure, duplicated. I don't want my tree to have, well, I shouldn't say that, but in an analogy, man, too many leaves. But in my life, oh man, I would love that many leaves to be restored in my life, duplicated, showing the kind of growth that I've had spiritually and the will and purpose is being done that God has placed in my life and your life. Your response to loss can determine how God uses you in the next season. Ooh, that's a good one. Think about it. Whatever season you're going through and you're beginning to lose some things, it's preparing you to speak on those very things in the next season that comes. And that season might be someone else's situation that you need to speak to because you've endured, because you understand what loss and losing leaves in your life means. And see, even when you don't understand the reasons for your losses, trust that God is doing something good for you, because loss is often a test of your faith. And many times we become concerned about some things or some people, situations that we are losing or we no longer recognize that are there, and we think it's us, wondering why. What have we done? And we have not done a thing. The Lord has done it all. He's removed the leaves that are necessary, which are taking away from the growth that we need in the test of our faith. Number 4, the loss is often a test of faith. Number 5, loss is necessary for renewal. Now, I know I'm talking to somebody because you might have had a loss in your life that might have been part of your life for a period of time. And you might think that losing that particular thing or person or whatever it might be, you may not be able to go on. But 2 Corinthians says this, 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Because you are having things removed in your life by the Lord, especially if you're in that spiritual walk, understand that there's a renewing season coming into your life. You might be renewing friendships. You might be renewing a new career. You might be renewing relationships. You might be renewing your a business, regrouping in your business. But it's necessary for renewal. I know I've been sharing with some individuals of scaling down or scaling back to rebuild my brand. Now, I'm a testimony apparel because a lot of times you can be so engaged that you miss out on the growth. You miss out on the renewing. You miss out on how you make an impact. And the old must die for the new to emerge. The old must die for new to emerge. When leaves fall, the tree isn't dead. The trunk ain't dead. The roots ain't dead. But it goes through a season, and we need to do this. We need to go through a season where we're resting, we're preparing, we are gearing up for a season, the next season of fruitfulness. Because a lot of, there are moments, there are on a branch, there's spaces that have little gaps that need to be filled, and new leaves come up in between there. And there's going to be some places in your life that need to be renewed, that you begin to recognize in the season where the leaves are gone. Because it's just you. It's just the tree and the branches preparing itself for something new. So when you are going through the loss, embrace it. Be willing to embrace the loss. Be willing to embrace your losses, because God is preparing you for something. As Egypt was coming out, as the Israelites were coming out of Egypt, they were worried about what they were losing. They thought they were in a great comfort zone. They had bread, water, all these great things, and they were afraid to lose that. And yet it was the Lord that was bringing them out, and the Lord is bringing you out of something that you don't have to worry about looking back on, because he's preparing you for renewal, for something totally different and better. And although Job lost everything, he got twice as much and more. Can you make room in your life for more? Can you prepare yourself that regardless of what you're losing, who you're losing, where you're losing, whatever it might be, that the Lord can actually duplicate that, multiply it? He has to have some room, though. So loss is necessary for renewal in your life. So prepare for the season of fruitfulness after losing. Don't have a woe is me. Oh, I've lost this and I want to be down and depressed. No, prepare for the season that is coming. Find out some things about yourself in this loss. So renew those things. And the Lord talks biblically about renewing your mind, but renew your heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit for the next season. Number 5, loss is necessary for renewal. Number 6. Listen. This one right here is the one that you got to get ready for. Number 6, not everyone can go with you. Let me say that again. Not everyone can go with you. Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? And when you understand that scripture in several different ways, know that there are some people or certain situations in your life where individuals are just hanging on because they want to be around you. They're not benefiting you. They just want to be attached to you. And there are some leaves on the tree that's just hanging around in seasons they have no business being in, because they just want to be attached to the branch. And yet it needs to be pruned for the next season. Some people are meant to be in your life in a season. Now, the people are seasonal. Everybody in your life is seasonal, some longer than others, right? But here's the thing. When that season is over, when the season is over, or that part of your story is over, God will remove those leaves for your next journey. Because he's the one that has the journey for you. He's the one that's guiding the path. So he knows who to keep, what to keep, and who to remove and what to remove. Because everyone, and I mean everyone, cannot go with you on your journey. It's important to understand that even though you have developed some great relationships, eventually, if they are not a part of the will and purpose that God has for your life, they're going to fade away. They're going to fall off in a season that you least expected because you've been around them. They've been around you for a while. It seems like you got things built up and built together, all of these wonderful things, and yet they are not really aligned with what God has for your life, and He knows it. You and I might not know it because we see the visual. We don't. In some cases, the spiritual we don't see necessarily because we get all caught up. We get emotional about it, and yet those leaves might need to be removed. See, the release in relationship or connection to certain things that no longer aligns with what God has for us needs to be taken away. And truly, God will be the one to remove it. As much as we may want to hang on to it, eventually He gonna win over. Because if He has something that's particular for your life that doesn't need everybody, you don't need no entourage, then you can best believe that it's going to be removed. And so, in that season, when you recognize not everyone can go with you, don't fight it. Don't fight it. Everybody, think about this. As Moses was leading the people to the promised land, over 600,000 people fell off. They couldn't go. They fell up. The Lord removed them as they were going on that journey. Now, you might not have 600,000 people in your life, but you got 6 people that might need to be removed. And if that's the case, don't fight the fact that when you start seeing them going in a different direction, it ain't for you to be hanging on. It's for you to allow that season of leaves to be removed and go in it and be blown away. Because see, if you don't rake up the leaves and a good wind comes through, them leaves will be blown away in some way. And there are going to be people who need to be blown away from a standpoint of the wind of your season changing the direction that they go in with you. Because everybody has their own direction. They have their own path and journey. And yet, some walk with us, some don't. So understand, as you are being encouraged today, as throughout this season, everyone, not everyone, can go with you. And don't feel as though you are causing losses. Don't feel that you are losing. Be strong and of good courage that the Lord knows what He's doing in your life. And He knows who and what to remove off of your tree, off of your journey, off of your path. So number 6, not everyone can go with you. And lastly, number 7, God's plan is greater than your loss. Ooh, get that, y'all. God's plan for your life is greater than your loss or your losses or while you're losing, whatever you might want to feel. The plan that God has for you is greater. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." And is His expectation for you, which is way greater than what we expect for ourselves. When God has a great expectation for you in a season that He knows is part of His will and purpose for your life, is way greater than anything we can think about. See, the losses we endure are part of God's greater plan for our lives. God has seen us way in advance before we even ever existed. He knew He was going to bring us forth for a particular purpose. So he already had the plan and the strategy for our life laid out. And we, based on the decisions that we do, hanging on the leaves, are the ones that sometimes cause detriment or cause challenges with the particular path that he has, because he allows us to decide certain things in our life. And yet, somehow or another, he navigates for us to continue to bring leaves that are correct, or at least strengthen our tree trunk and our roots in our journey, because he knows that what he's planning for us is greater than what we're losing. See, the losses we endure allows us to see the end in the beginning in some ways. Like the Lord is already seeing the end in the beginning. He already knows where he's taking us. And he understands that losses help shape us for our purpose. Have you ever wondered, like, when you lose something somehow or another, you find strength to get through it? Or when you get through it, you can sometimes look back on it and like, wow, Lord brought me through that, because you didn't bring yourself through it, for sure. All things work together for the good, right? Trust that everything or every loss is working together for God's glory in your life. He has a reason for everything that is being removed for your life, or from your life, or in your life. This message is to encourage you just to reflect on what leaves are on your tree branch or your tree that has no business being there. What leaves are falling off in this season right now? I've been having this conversation over the last few days of things that need to fall away. Habits, situations, people, circumstances, because they holding up and holding back, something that God is trying to remove. You got these leaves still hanging on, and you need to make room for the new leaves, the new season, the new things that God has for you. The tree and the branches last through the winter. The anchor lasts through the winter season. In the fall, you are that anchor. You are the one that lasts through the seasons, preparing yourself for the upcoming season, which is the spring, where you start to see growth in your life. You start seeing some things start to bud, some situations you see once it was moved, that area begin to grow. Because the Lord is pruning, he's shaping, and he's preparing you and I for greater fruitfulness. So I want to say to you, I charge you today. I charge and challenge you and encourage you, edify you. Don't fight the falling of the leaves. Instead, I want to say, trust God. He is preparing you for a season of new growth, abundant blessings, and opportunities. And I know that if you hear the sound of my voice, you definitely need to share this with somebody who is struggling with the fact that they think the losses in their life is going to cause this great harm for them. Like they won't be able to manage or get through, and don't understand that spiritually, if they are attached to the Lord in their everyday life and their journey, he's removing some things to provide some growth in your life. He's removing some things to help you see that there is a will and purpose greater than the leaves in your life. So I pray that as you understand that loss prepares you for growth, trust God's timing and purpose when he removes the leaves. Understand that letting go of the leaves in your life brings freedom to grow. When you begin to lose the leaves, understand it's a test of your faith. Can you get through the season when you're losing some things? Loss is necessary for renewal. When you lose some things, and especially in specific areas of your life that you recognize, you should begin to grow in that area. You should begin to see strength in your life. You're developing certain things, skill sets, or your gifts. Some of us have lost some things around us to allow our gifts to come forward, our talents and our experiences in our life. Your skills, your skills and some things in your life have been held down because you have certain people speaking to you in a certain way that has been holding you down. And it's a season where that particular leaf or leaves need to be removed for the renewal of your life and your journey. Not everyone can go with you. Don't be trying to drag people, having anchors and all these kind of the thing chains around your legs, because people are hanging on or situations are hanging on. Allow it to fall off because it can't go with you on your journey. And when you do all of those things and recognize them, know that above all, God's plan in your life is greater than your loss, and your loss is, or whatever you may lose. And if there's one thing I would say that you should lose if you haven't, is the world. If you don't have the Lord in your life, you need to lose that thought process of not having him in your life and make sure that he is the head of your life, that you accept the Lord Jesus Christ so that you can understand and recognize the leaves that need to fall off in your life. Because a lot of times we do think it's people, places, and things, and it is, but there are certain habits that need to fall off. Certain addictions that we need to have fall off. Certain words in our life that needs to fall off. How we think about ourselves and what God thinks about us, as far as understanding that God thinks greater than that. And the things we think about negatively need to fall off. Some of the words we choose for our life needs to fall off. I challenge you to think about some of the things that are not benefiting your life as a leaf or leaves and see if they need to fall off. This is John McClung Jr. with Breaking Biblical Bread, also known as the Chaplain. I do this every Monday, Lord willing, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for my people on the West Coast. And I pray that if this blessed you in some way, share it with somebody, because it's a bunch of us who got leaves in our life hanging on that need to fall off so that we can grow, so that we can develop, so that we ain't looking back and looking at the old leaves in our life and wondering why they're still hanging on. And the Lord is like, I need you to let that leaf fall off so that I can strengthen you and build you in that area so that you can help somebody else. Don't you know that every season the leaves come out on this tree, it's helping shade the front of the house, keeping it cool? And there are some things that happen in our life. There are some things, once it's removed, it will do what it is supposed to do when the new leaves come. When the new people come in our life that are really speaking to us, or the new situation that happens that is taking care, looking out for us, or making sure that we're going down the right direction. You don't need yes people in your life. You need a leaf in your life that will help you be accountable. You need some people that can see in discernment that you can't see. And so going forward in this season, make sure that you have the right leaves on your tree or in your life, because this will be necessary to have the right things around you, to keep the right kind of shade in your life, to grow and be beautiful. Because, if you got old leaves on your tree, it don't look good. But when that new season comes and they're fresh and green and beautiful, it's a totally different look. So I pray that this in some way has benefited you to know and look at it, reflect. Do I have leaves on my life or on my tree or in my life that are not necessary for the will and purpose that God has for me? I look forward to talking to you, Lord willing, next week. I got a message already ready. This is very important as you move in your new season. This new season is going to be very important. There's going to be a lot of things happening that will challenge us, that will test our faith, that will test the foundation and the root of our tree. There are going to be some leaves that come in and out. And you need to recognize who needs to stay in your life in this new season and what needs to go. Don't be afraid, even if those leaves are close. Because see, the leaves on a tree are close. They are attached to the tree, to the branch. The branch is attached to the trunk, right? And the trunk is attached to the roots. So they're close. And you usually have the most challenges with the leaves, oh Lord, that are closest to you. And I encourage you to be one heck of a pruner in your life as you go through and into this new season that we are already 20 days in. It's going by fast already. And there's going to come a time where you're going to need new growth in your life, but it won't happen with old leaves. Take care until the next time.
This is John McClung Jr. I'd like to invite you to join me every Monday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for Breaking Biblical Bread, where we take a word or passage of Scripture and encourage you, impact your life, and add value to your day. You don't want to miss it.